Welcome to Beer 30 Live, everybody. My name is Pete Wright, and I am sitting here with
Mary Bradbury Jones.
We're alone.
We are.
We're drinking. We're drinking alone.
We are drinking alone. Does
Hummus.
that mean we have a problem?
With our hummus plate. I think that means we have a problem, a serious problem. Sitting here at John Barleycorn's McMinimans again, where is Jamie?
Jamie's missing.
Do you know why? I think it's because he's scared.
Oh,
I think it's because he's scared of your SmackDown talk last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. So we're not going to talk about that, whatever it was.
He doesn't have his ducks in a row, so he didn't want to show up.
He needs research. He's got a whole team of hipster monkeys out there working on his end of the argument. But it's been kind of a big kind of a big news week, right? I mean, there's stuff to talk about.
Well, I guess, yeah. Still the same old in some ways.
Well, it is the same old. But we've got Obama has announced that he's going to be doing his talk next week, the joint session of Congress. What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
Well, I know it's not State of the Union, so it's different than that, and it's something that I think started maybe with Clinton. Is that right?
Well, that was the last big one.
That was the last big one. Okay.
That was the one where he held up the pen. He held up the veto pen.
Oh, that's right.
If you do not give me a bill that includes some employer healthcare option, I will veto it with this pen. Mighty hand of Clinton.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was, I think, the last time it was
Bush
been
didn't
exercised.
have one?
I don't think he did.
Wow.
Where he calls the whole gang together on the playground. So what do we think he's going to say? This is the big piece of contention, right? Is he going to give up? Is he going to give up?
I don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's
going to be a dark day for you if he gives up the public option, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I probably sit. I sit more on the real progressive side versus the Demo. So I have issue with a lot of the blue dogs and the conservative Democrats as well, and so I of course wanted Medicare for all, and that's usually
the single payer. You wanted single payer option. I do too. I'm having real trouble figuring out what is in why anything else is less complicated than a single payer option.
Well, it works. I mean, it works fine now. That's what we have with Medicare.
Seems like everybody, all the old people seem to like it.
And the only difference,
So do the politicians.
Yes, definitely. No one will. Nobody wants to vote for getting rid of it, or even dare suggest it, other than what's his name, Weiner from New York, when he did it facetiously, and of course, no one from the House in the House that was a Republican. They didn't even give it one vote.
He didn't even make a point.
But to me, it is single payer. All that is, it's just that the government pays the bill. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. There isn't a lot. They aren't going to make money off of it. We don't have to pay CEO salaries. We don't need their jets. We don't need to pay for their very expensive marketing campaigns, which I don't know how much money they put into that, whether it's Kaiser or Health Net or those kinds of things. Let alone what they've been investing in trying to beat down any kind of health insurance reform, which I think is what we all need to be using. It's not health care reform, meaning that the quality of your health care is going to change. It's health insurance reform. And, they're spending $1 million a day to fight this. So, common sense says that they make a lot of money in
and that
the
there
health
are ways
insurance
that we
industry.
can be more efficient about this. Here's an interesting
Absolutely.
thing. I have a dear friend who is in the pharmaceutical business. Mm-hmm. He's a salesman of the drugs. And he doesn't actually sell the drugs. He's a pusher. Yeah, he's a pusher. He doesn't actually sell the drugs. I actually seem to run in a circle. When you meet one, they all kind of latch on. They travel in packs. And he was working on this project. It was a project, inside the company, a promotion thing. You go to school inside the company and learn the company culture.
Okay.
You got to put together a business plan that shows what the company's business is. And he calls me because he knows I've taught this marketing stuff before, and he says, tell me about this. Okay, tell me what you would be looking for if you were doing this. And because one of the big things that they said that we need to focus on in their SWOT analysis, right?
Okay.
Is strengths of our product offering, weaknesses of the product offering, opportunities in the market, and threats in the market.
Right.
And he said the only thing that they wanted us to make sure we include is the Obama health care plan as a massive threat to our business.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. It's a terrible threat to the business, but it's and so then you hear the United Healthcare people sending their armies of employees out to load these stack the deck against the town hall meetings, and you think, what happened to a society where a massive problem was overcome by ingenuity and creative thinking? Why can't we all come together and figure out how to make it better so everybody wins?
Right.
Isn't that possible? One of my clients is a health insurance company, and they said the same thing. This is a massive threat to the way we do business. And there is zero interest in getting to the other side of it.
Right. Well, I think they don't want to come up to the table and find creative and innovative solutions because they just want to continue to keep the hold on what they've got and continue that profit taking that they have. And any little thing is a threat to health insurance reform. Everything from pre-existing conditions, getting rid of that where you can't.
Pregnancy is a pre-existing condition at this point, right? I just heard that one today.
It is?
Yeah.
Well, they can claim
and
that?
One of the majors says that pregnancy is a pre-existing condition, yeah.
Because you thought about it?
I guess.
Oh. But that's, so they, the pre-existing conditions, you can't drop people when they get sick.
Right.
That's one major piece of health insurance reform that people are screaming and yelling about. But yet, any reasonable person would say that's a reasonable solution here. The thing that I find that I think is interesting is when I was listening to talk radio one day, and there was a representative of madishellDoctors.org. This is a organization that these are doctors that want health insurance reform.
Are these the guys driving across the country in the RV?
Yes.
That's a fantastic thing.
And one of the things that they said that, and I don't know if I've said this on a show before, so stop me if I have, but that I thought was really interesting, and I'd never looked at it that way, is they said people are really happy with their private insurance. The ones that are really happy with their private insurance are the ones that haven't truly had to use it.
Yeah.
Meaning it's been for your basic child, yearly visits, the shots. It's I got a cold, I went to the doctor once this year. It's the female, I went in for my annual exam. Meaning there hasn't been any major health crisis for them because that's who they mess around with. They don't sit and nickel and dime on the very basic parts of the plan. Where they get nasty is when things cost money.
Oh,
when
right.
you need
My insurance company loves me as much as I love them because we don't ever talk.
Right, and you never go to the doctor, probably. Right. And and when you do, you just pay your little copay, and there you go. Mm-hmm. So who they mess around with are people who have cancer and are on chemotherapy, who need transplants, who whatever the case may be, serious diabetic issues. That's when they start cutting services or saying we don't cover that, or cutting their insurance altogether.
So back to the present, right?
Okay. So what should he say?
Suck.
Or
so
what's
what
he
is
going to
say? And here's it's sort of predicated on this environment, right, where it feels like the president comes through and maybe he bullies his way through a bit of this, kind of ramming this healthcare thing down the throats of Congress. But
right.
But the other news comes out. I'm going to dig this up. I think it was a Rasmussen poll, and I will confirm this, that talked about, released last week, that said 57% of Americans would throw out every member of Congress and start again. They're so disappointed in the performance of
I'm not surprised.
Of that branch of government.
I'm not surprised. Because they're all bought and sold. I mean, really, regardless of the party, and probably the group of people the least bought and sold are the Progressive Caucus and folks from the Green Party, and they're majorly in the minority.
So there we are. We have Congress that's not popular but bought and sold. We have Congress who's doing a fantastic job of leveraging the Republican Congress who's doing a fantastic job of leveraging negative media.
Exactly.
And we have Democrats that seemingly can't get their act together.
Well,
so what does he say in an environment like this?
I think it needs to come out. He needs to come out with his guns loaded. He needs to talk straight to the American people about, here's the bottom line. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the corporatocracy versus the American people. That's what's really going down here. This is not about health care. This is about money and people making profit. mean, what the war is over, the battle's over. And it's the American people that are caught in the middle, and the American people who are getting hurt by this. And I think that he needs to be powerful in that message, and I think that he needs to talk about the healthcare crisis that we have. This will bankrupt our country. We need to do something. This isn't this a neat idea?
Right.
These things are coming out of that. We've got real problems, and we've got people suffering, which is, from my standpoint, inexcusable. But also we have a financial crisis, so it's bankrupting the country. Now there's a small group of people getting stinking filthy rich, and they're doing a great job of loading up the pockets of all these congressmen. I mean, these healthcare insurance, they're hedging their bets. They're giving money on both sides. They don't just go with one party. They've got both of them that they're giving money to. And that's what I think he needs to do. What he'll do, I'm concerned. I think that it was noble to say, let's try to do it in a bipartisan manner. I think they, in good faith, tried. I think that the conservative group of people has absolutely no interest in anything bipartisan. I think this is all smoke and mirrors when they talk about let's go back to the table and start over in a bipartisan way. We were at the table in a bipartisan way. I mean, some of these bills that are out there in the committees, and that's the other thing, there isn't just one bill. There's 5 different ones.
Lots of
they
them.
are full of Republican concessions that they wanted.
Right.
So what are you talking about that things didn't happen in a bipartisan way? I mean, there's stuff in there that were put in there by Republicans. Now they're running around and acting like they didn't have anything to do with it.
Well, it's because the language has changed a lot over the last 2 weeks. From we wish there was more of a bipartisan discussion to, no more mincing words. Our efforts are to kill healthcare. We want no change at all. That's our mission. Our mission is not.
They're the
to
party,
have a
and no,
discussion,
we don't like anything. We don't like any idea that causes anybody rich to have a little less money coming in.
Right.
It's pretty much. And so what I really think is I think he needs to approach this, and we were talking a little bit about this before the show, but I think he needs to approach it just like FDR did when he was faced in this situation in 1936. And the Republicans were obstructionists back then, and he eventually, did what he needed, what was right to get done, and he didn't do it in a bipartisan manner. And you know what? The American people were quite happy with the outcome of that, and they're still quite happy with a lot of the outcomes of those programs that he put back in place in 1936. And I think it's time for them to stop messing around and trying to be bipartisan and do what we sent them there to do.
Do you feel like we have a good picture of national support or no support? I mean, do we really know who's in favor of this? I'm really curious about
It's a very good question. This is an interesting example. So what at first I was getting sucked in. I was thinking these town halls were, massive people angry all over the country, because that's what the media has made us think that they are. And interestingly enough, Steny Hoyer had his town hall yesterday, a couple days ago, and it was out on C-SPAN because Congress isn't in session, so C-SPAN is airing all sorts of different stuff. So there it was, and there was a group of people that were there, and they were screaming and they were yelling and read the bill and all that nonsense that they do. But the majority of it was pretty boring. Majority of people had just legitimate questions that they wanted answered. There were a very large group that was already on a board and agreed, and another group that was really wanted there to hear from their congressman, get those answers. When you read the paper about it, it acted like there was complete and total mayhem. It was out of control. They had to be taken out by police, and it was extremely boring with a small group of people yelling. That was it. So I don't know what we're getting fed. I just, at first I got sucked in, and now I'm starting to step back and say that I think that, they're putting on a show for us to suck us in, and that's the Republican approach to things. When they don't have answers for things, when they can't come at you with real data and facts to support their position, this is the route that they go.
Do you think your ability to step back has been helped by your self-imposed media blackout?
Yes.
How'd that work out for you?
It's going. It went well,
Yeah.
and in fact, what was it? Towards the end of the week, when technically my week, I had just done the week, and I went and I turned on talk radio, and they started down this path, and I maybe listened for 5 minutes, and I was like, turned it right off. So I've watched a little bit of Keith Olbermann this week, but I haven't really done much more of that, and I don't know if some of that's because it's the same old, same old. I mean, it's kind of like the soap opera. You can walk away from it for about 3 months and come back, and it's still the same love triangle issues and the same this or that. And so in many ways, it's kind of like I've started just to check out till they go back into session, because it's the same old stuff, and it's the same old lies and the same old talking points and the same old, slogans. Nothing's really changed.
Well, I think that's illustrated by the latest computer flub with Google News. You check out Google News, and this made the tech news, the super smart Google investigative spotlight report is starting to report as the Onion as the top investigative story. Top investigative story on the web, and it goes back to the fact that Jon Stewart is the most reputable journalist on television news.
That's very true.
It's sort of hard to stomach anymore, and I find myself, and I hope this isn't what I'm going to see next week with the president, I find myself fatigued with the ill nature of the debate, and poor concessions come out of fatigue.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's going to be very frustrating. If he gives up the public option, that's going to be trouble. If he gives up the public option in favor of something that is far more complicated, which is specifically engineered
by them,
in
like
order
this trigger
to,
option, which is their new thing.
Yeah, what is that? Can you explain that?
Well, from what I understand, it is, and I think that Olympia Snowe is one of the main ones of this, because she's a fairly moderate Republican.
On the fence, right?
And and they're really trying to get her on board, and it's one of these things which would be we don't have a public option until we hit some sort of point. What that point is, I think, is all still being debated, but some monumental point that then we trigger in a public option.
So for example, when we hit 100 million people uninsured, then we would get a public option.
Then no, we might already be.
We
already might be bankrupt
50
by
million
then.
people.
But,
Right.
Who knows? But it's something like that, and I think that's ridiculous. I mean, I think if the point is we've got a problem that we need one, why are we putting that off for 4 years or 5 years or whatever? The point, we need it.
Right.
And so we need it now. Why would we be doing it later? That doesn't make a bit of sense. Anyway, it's a stall tactic. It's what it is.
It is, but it's
so that they look like they have ideas.
Right. The party of ideas.
The party of ideas.
Richly ironic.
Yeah.
It is. All right. Enough about healthcare. So let's talk about 9/11.
Oh goodness.
Okay, so this was the supposedly the controversial WWF, the World Wildlife Fund, 9/11 commercial. Now we just watched the commercial, right?
Yes.
We just saw it. Mm-hmm. For those who haven't seen it, it is a from an artistic concept, for making a point, it makes a point. Mm-hmm. Its picture starts out with pictures of the planes running into World Trade Center, and then as the camera pulls back on New York City with the plane or the buildings are burning and smoking, hundreds and hundreds of planes fly in, targeting buildings. They fly in low across the sea and into Manhattan. And the concept is, when the trade centers went down, it killed, a couple of thousand people, which was a fraction of the people who have been killed in the tsunami, the natural disasters. Look what happened in Katrina. Look at all these terrible things. And so, the planet is very, very, what was the stern? The planet is strong. You must respect it. That kind of a thing. Brutal. The planet is brutal. Mm-hmm. You must respect it. But the ad has taken on some controversy. Did it offend you?
No. I mean, when I first saw it, And I saw it through, watching news. I didn't see it, on TV.
Because it was never released. I mean,
No.
it was a concept by an ad agency that was never released. It was not the work of the World Wildlife Fund.
Right.
But
somehow it made it out. It made it out on the
yeah.
internet. And I remember, I even saying, I could see where maybe people would get upset by that. Maybe that wasn't in the best taste. But at the same time, I think that, but then what I also turned and said was, that seems brilliant to me, sitting on an outsider from an advertising standpoint, because aren't ads supposed to, they're good, right, if they make you watch them, but also remember whatever the message was from it.
Right.
So, from that standpoint, I thought, wow, that seems like there's some creativity behind that a little bit.
Well, yeah, the best ads make you think, and in this particular case, it shows you a sense of scale and scope that most people likely have never thought about.
Right.
But
and I think it's about putting things in perspective and priorities. And while 9/11 was certainly a horrible event, I would never try to minimize it by any means. My thoughts and sympathies go out to any family that was affected by that situation. The reality is there are events that happen in this world that are of far bigger magnitude, but yet we don't pay one bit of attention to those. And so I see what their point was, which was, we continue to abuse this earth, the earth will fight back, and we will lose. I think that's essentially what they're trying to say there.
And yet I'm with you. I found it, and I've watched it a couple of times now, and I found it to be really sort of mesmerizing and humbling. And I think that's probably the effect that they were trying to get. The World Wildlife Fund strongly condemns this offensive and tasteless ad and did not authorize its production or publication. It's our understanding that it was a concept offered by an outside agency seeking our business in Brazil. Concept was summarily rejected by the World Wildlife Fund and never should have seen the light of day.
Well, yeah.
Well, they got some good press
They
over it.
did, didn't they? But
they're not selling. I mean, I don't know. I get the feeling they're not selling anything. For me, I don't feel like I'm
Right.
being pitched. It really is it's a public service announcement in its purest and most dramatic form, and
Right.
I'm not offended by that. Now, I did find, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, there was the Volkswagen Golf commercial, and it was another concept that was leaked. And Volkswagen came out and said, we summarily rejected this. This was not appropriate. But that shows this. It shows somebody who is dressed in a stereotypically terrorist outfit with the dark glasses, somebody obviously of some sort of Middle Eastern descent, and comes out in the heavy cloak, gets in this little Volkswagen Golf, and drives off into those crowded streets, pulls up in front of a crowded coffee house, opens his coat, pulls out a little remote with a red button. You know he's going to detonate himself. He
Right.
does it, pulls back, shows the car, and all you see is the car kind of jiggle, and it fills with smoke. And then screen cuts to black, and the tagline is, "The Golf, strong but tough," or small but tough, right?
yeah.
I took a bit of offense to that. I thought it was too soon.
Yeah. Too soon from what?
Yeah, well, that's the point. I mean, it was too soon. When is it not too
from
soon to
Iraq,
be
you
talking
mean, or-
about a terrorist bombing? We're in sort of in the middle of kind of this heightened state of emergency. To use it for advertising purposes,
Right.
I found a bit offensive. I've shown it in a number of classes and have gotten mixed feedback, but far more on the side of, you know what, we really just thought it was funny,
Yeah.
which surprised me.
Well, I laughed.
Yeah, I got a chuckle out of it, but when you think about it,
Yeah.
using it for selling it's cheeky.
Well, I think you asked a good question pre-show, which was, what time frame has to pass before, even like that, like 9/11 can be used in manners like that. Is
Right.
it something that has to be almost a generation before you'd have society who wouldn't get all up in arms over it?
Well, because I think there are concepts tossing around tables, of how can we use Abu Ghraib to, sell something or. Okay, that's wrong.
Right. I don't know what you'd try to sell there, but anyway.
Insurance.
Well, what you could do is here's how you take.
I wish I had the public option.
Yeah. Well, or you can, here's how you can instantly take a group of people and have them go from, trusting to angry and killing you in a very short period of time, is torture their people, and that'll do it.
Right.
So, and that was certainly one of those things that fueled a lot more violence in the Middle East once that was revealed on what we did. So, but yeah, I can't imagine any ad focused on that.
Cheeky. Oh, let's see. What
Maybe
else
about dogs. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh man, what do you think about Michael Vick? We haven't talked about it. I can't believe it's been weeks and we've never talked about it.
Gosh, I've really struggled with that one.
Why did you struggle?
Well, at first when he had gotten out and he'd done his 3 years. 2 years.
I think he did 2 years.
Okay, so he did. He had done his time, and was come out and seems remorseful for it.
Does he? Really?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the guy. I mean, I'm just going on his words, but at least says whatever. And struggling with that, people in life sometimes make mistakes, and if they pay their dues, isn't it time for society to say you paid your dues? We punished you, you paid your dues. Now we let you move on and live your life. And then, but I think that when some of that was going on, I wasn't really aware of what he was doing. Like, I wasn't paying too much attention. I mean, I knew there was dog fighting, but I didn't really understand what they did to the dogs that didn't perform well. Mm-hmm. And so it was actually Phil and I there having a conversation, and he said, but look at what he did. Look what they did to these dogs when they didn't. And I didn't know that angle. So then, as soon as I heard that, then I went the other direction. And for the listeners that don't know,
never have even gotten out of prison.
I'm a vegetarian mainly because of the ethical issues behind it. And so when I really heard about the way they were treated, where my anger and my disgust went was to our society, that he did those kinds of things and all he got was 2 years. So instead it wasn't really directed at him, more so of, in general, our society and how we value animals and the treatment of animals. And to me, like, I think, what would he have gotten if he had done that over in England? I mean, they have really strict laws against animal abuse and those kinds of things. He may have been in prison a lot longer. So 2 years then seemed a little inappropriate to me.
Yeah. What I'm looking up now, I want to see what his contract is with the Eagles right now, because he served 18 months of a 23-month sentence. So he got out early.
Okay, and then what's he have to do? Doesn't he have to do a bunch of public service, or?
Yes. Let's see. Let's look at the thing. Here's the problem that I have with it is that this is a guy who was truly brutal to these animals.
Yeah, I don't know where I was when this was all going on. I think I just didn't want to hear about it, so I blocked it out.
Yeah, no, and he's he was in some trouble in 2008. He filed bankruptcy. Said he was $50 million in debt. Let's see. Here it is. Initial filing listed assets of less than $50 million and debt of $10 to $50 million. 7 largest creditors without collateral backing or owed $12.8 million. Biggest unsecured creditors are Joel Enterprises, owed $4.5 million for breach of contract. The Atlanta Falcons owed $3.75 million for prorated signing bonus, and Royal Bank of Canada owed $2.5 million for a loan. Well, the problem is the guy leaves to go to jail, and he comes back after brutalizing these animals, and he gets to play football again.
Yeah.
I have a real problem with that. You know,
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with him getting out. I don't know if he is, you know, if he's, you know, remorseful. I don't. In what I've seen of him, I haven't. It doesn't seem like he's, you know, really remorseful. I think it
Okay.
seems like,
He's
damn,
going through
I
the
can't
like
do the
his-
dogs
yeah.
anymore. Maybe I could do, you know, cockfighting. Maybe I could get into that. Is that okay if I do it in Mexico?
Little Jerry Seinfeld.
Little Jerry Seinfeld. We're not taking little Jerry. But you know,
yeah.
it's one of those things that I just feel like that sends the wrong message again to the world.
Well, I
That
would
it's
agree
okay
with
to go have an opportunity even to make millions of dollars for performing on the field every week.
Yeah.
After doing this kind of a thing, I think you can get out of jail. Get out of jail. Go serve the community. Go do
Right.
something else. Use your former celebrity to do something else, but you don't get to play football, and that's on the
Yeah.
NFL. They
Yeah.
should not have let him back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know, Roger Goodell. This is on him.
And this is where I'm. Where did he go? Who picked him up?
Eagles.
Eagles. Interesting.
So
Yeah.
it is a. I think it's a disgusting
Well,
thing.
I agree, and I think that too that the message that it sends to young people is disturbing, because really, if he did anything else other than, you know, football or basketball, I mean maybe baseball, but they don't, you know, they don't seem to me on the outsider seem to have the amount of money coming in like football and that. Anything else, he wouldn't be anywhere. He'd be struggling in his small little home trying to pick himself up by his bootstraps.
You don't hear a lot of stories about the, you know, about the dogfighting accountants. that
Well,
get
very
sent to
true,
jail.
I guess.
mean, that's just not.
We're just, nobody cares.
Right.
Tell us about that.
But his contract now, let's see, is first year the deal's for $1.6 million with a second-year option worth $5.2. He can earn an additional $3 million in incentives over 2 years of the contract. This is on ESPN. So here's a guy who's going to make $1.6 million this year. Now, he's in an incredible amount of debt. He's reorganizing, so that's going to go really quickly. But
Right.
what does it say that we're reading this right now about this kind of money, this scale of
Yeah.
money for playing the game?
Yeah. Well, it's. I think it shows where, in many ways, our priorities are jacked up
It's
in this
disgusting.
country.
It is disgusting.
You know. Well, you know, and if we had a conservative at the table, they would say, "What are you going to try to, you know, limit the amount of money people can make, or, you know, that kind of thing?" But I do think there is.
Yes, we're going to limit the amount of money that people who kill dogs can make. We're going to do that. We're going to limit that money.
Exactly.
We're going to do that.
Exactly.
That's what we need
and
to do
I
because
think
it's right.
society has every right to shun him as much as they want.
This is a Scarlet Letter situation, you know. Well,
So,
a
I mean,
little bit
no,
different
I
than
shouldn't
Scarlet
say bring violence on him, but I mean, let's not advocate for
No.
that. But meaning they have every right to express their opinions about that, to express their opinion to the Eagles about that, for Eagle play, you know, fans. But, you know, will they not buy the tickets and not go over it? Of course they won't. They'll go.
Yeah, they'll go. It'll be the home team. I don't know. Do you watch any? Are you into the football?
Oh yes.
Did you watch any of the Broncos game?
No, I did not.
The preseason.
No.
It was Broncos.
I do
and
everything I
the,
can just to get through Chiefs. I'm just at preseason. I
Well,
love
this was a big
football.
story, right? This was a big
Oh,
story about
well,
the whole you know, quarterback trade.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because
Yeah.
what's his name? I can't even think of his name. I'm gonna have to look that up too.
Yes.
It was the guy who was traded
Right.
because he didn't like the coach. He got pissed off at the coach, and so he said, "I want out of here." You never trade the quarterback. Right? It just
Right.
doesn't ever happen. And
He got ticked off at Shanahan. But Shanahan's out, though.
well, yeah, but they brought in this new guy, and so
okay.
Jay Cutler, right?
Yes. All right.
And so.
You're a Broncos fan, aren't you?
Well, I'm from Colorado, and so
well,
I've got some
okay.
got some Colorado love, and
Yeah.
so Cutler got out of it, and he went to because you know it was Josh McDaniels, I think is the coach's name for Denver now, right?
Okay.
And so he got in a tiff, and he got out of his contract, and he got traded. He got traded to Chicago. So this was a preseason game, means nothing
Yeah.
other than now Cutler is playing as the Bear, against
His
Denver, whose quarterback I don't think ever got mentioned. Right. So he comes out, and the crowd. This is probably
They're
the best.
playing in Denver.
They're playing in Denver, Mile High Stadium, and the crowd starts stomping their feet and booing him. Right, just booing him like crazy. And the announcers are sitting there saying, this crowd is like one gigantic spurned lover. I thought it was so brilliant. I thought it was perfect.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm not actually one for the football myself. As you can't tell, I don't have it on the tip of the tongue, but I do follow the drama. I like the soap opera stories when things like this happen.
Yeah. No, I really love football, and of course, once the season starts, I've never been a big preseason person. I struggle, because I don't know who all the new players are. I don't sit and watch the draft like my husband
Do you have
does.
your fantasy football team, all lined up? Do you play the fantasy football?
No, I don't do the
don't
fantasy
play the
football.
Fantasy?
I do, what do we call that? The weekly,
The
where
picks,
your
yeah.
picks and that kind of thing. But yeah, like I don't pay attention to who's all the, first round draft picks and those kinds of things, and then all the trades, and so I just wait really. I mean, I watch the preseason games, but I probably multitask while doing so. Whereas when it's when we're in the season, then I am really sitting down and paying attention. But at that point, the players are picked, and then I start to know them and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But,
You build a relationship. You're all about the relationship.
I'm about the relationship, I guess. Yeah.
What else do you have?
I was wondering, have you ever listened to the band Kooks?
The Kooks?
Uh huh.
No.
Being signed to music.
How should I know them? Tell
You
me
should
about
check
the
them out.
Kooks.
They're a band. I think they're from England.
Across the pond.
They are, and actually, Phil discovered them somehow, which I don't know if it was just searching in iTunes or he heard something. Anyway, and
Older band? Newer band?
they're a newer band.
Okay.
They've got a couple albums, I think now. Let's see, Google them and see what you say. But no, they've got one of their albums, which I think it might be their first album. But anyway, it's one of those albums where like literally every song is good.
All right.
And it's funny, my 5-year-old son is very into them, and the other day in the car he was wanting to play music, and so I hit the CD player for whatever was in there, and the song comes on, and he goes, "No, I want the Kooks!" Yells it from the back seat.
That's fantastic. Here they are. Look at them. This is Kooks TV. They
Oh,
have
wow.
TV.
I didn't even know they had that. Look
Go
at that, on
Kooks.
tour.
Let's see, where are they going to be? What made you think of them?
I was
They're
listening
going
to him on the way over here.
Jersey, UK, Paris, France, Dublin. They're not coming to my house.
Oh, nope, they're not coming to the United States.
That's very
Yeah.
terrible.
So was I right? Are they British? Or?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
definitely, let's say biography. Let's learn about them. Greatest records in the world can be put on in any situation. This is about the Kooks. 2006, they came back, so it sounds like they've been around a lot.
Okay, so they are an inner band. Okay, I didn't realize that, but
It's not like The Cult or...
no. Anyway, I was just I was listening to them on the way here, and I wondered if you knew of them since you're such a music guru. So.
I know no Kooks. Is that amazing? I should probably know them.
Wow, yeah. Do you want me to burn you a CD? Oh, should I say that?
No, I want to purchase it legally, and I want everyone to get their cut, Mary. I mean, I'm sure you didn't mean that.
I did not mean that.
I mean, you meant to burn a personal backup for yourself
I did.
and put away in a closet.
That I would let you just listen to and borrow.
But from a distance, at only 15 seconds at a time.
So true. Whoops.
That's fantastic. Thank you. That's awesome. Let's do it. The legal part.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. I got nothing else. I'm a little depressed going into next week, I got to tell you, because of all this muck, this news muck. We got to get to the other side of that.
Well, are you
we got to get to the other side of this money muck too. I
Yeah.
mean, this whole the economy. We've got our friend Greg Lester.
Oh, yeah.
He is going to come. He's the money guy. He's going to come join us and talk to us about money, and it's really the personal side of this, not the big economy, the larger economy at large issues. He's going to talk to us about kind of real personal. How are you being impacted, and how can you weather? Because there are a lot of people who are saying that this is not, this is a W recovery, and it's not over. It's going to go down again. And
Well, what I heard that there was economist on the Tom Hartman show, and what he was saying was that what we've got right now is like not the ski. What's it when they're with the skiers where they're coming down, and they do the jump, so they come down and they go off that thing. Okay, so what he was saying was that that's what our economy kind of is. We've gone down. We're in this little upward slope, which is where the skier heads up to then jump, meaning that we're going to come up of this thing and then fall straight down, and that it's going to be worse.
Well, because if everybody's saying, if I'm using the lingo right, the junk paper is still on the books. Like all these junk deals that got us into this trouble in the first place are not cleaned up. We've put a lot of money into the market, into the economy. People are getting excited, but the underlying system is still flawed, and that's the problem.
Yep.
So he's going to come talk to us about how to weather the next round, because we gotta turn some attitudes around.
Yeah.
I mean, people, we gotta cheer some people up. This is
exactly
ridiculous.
Well, and I think that what this really shows us is that that too much of any one thing turns out to be a bad thing. And if you think about almost everything in life, that's the case. And rampant capitalism without any regulations or things in place to protect consumers or stockholders or when that happens, this is what you get. So,
but it's funny that you say it as if it's sort of as if it's like a disease, because we kind of need a recovery plan similarly, and that's a fascinating kind of place.
But I think the majority. I mean, this is what I want to believe, and I think I do. I think that the majority of American people are actually quite reasonable.
Yes.
I think that the majority of American people say, I have no problem helping out others, as long as I'm not struggling. I think the majority of American people want peace and prosperity for all. I really do. But I just think that we've been taken over. And, it all started, and I can't remember what the case was, but it's when it went in front of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court came back and said that corporations have the same rights as people, and that's what opened it up and allowed corporations to do donations to candidates. As soon as that happened, we lost our power as the American people, because there's no way you and I can go up against these large. We never have enough money to give a candidate. Enough to outweigh what the corporations can give.
Did you see the Tom Coburn town hall?
No, but I heard a little bit about it. I mean, he's just a wackadoodle.
Well, it's kind of a funny thing. This was the one where he says, and I hate to bring it back to such a downer, but he's the one who says, we have. The public option is not a good option. It's not, we can't do that. And then somebody stands up at a town hall, this poor woman, and says, my husband was just kicked out of the hospital with traumatic brain injury. He can't eat or drink.
Because he wasn't making progress.
Right. He was kicked out, not making progress, can't eat or drink, and insurance won't cover any in-home health care. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to help that? And she's just bawling. And he says, well, the government answer is not the answer. Because we need, what are we forgetting about here? Neighbors. Our neighbors have to help each other. You need to ask your neighbors for help. And I'm going to help personally with my office, and we're going to help you. Of course, he's now suddenly the government helping. Apparently they did.
Right. Oh, okay.
Like they're actually taking, I don't know, crock pots of food over to their house or something. Of course, the guy can't eat. What he needs is a trained speech pathologist, somebody to help train him how to eat and drink again. But this is the kind of insanity that is going on right now.
Well, isn't he the gynecologist that says that condoms don't protect against sexually transmitted diseases? So why is anybody listening to him about anything?
Yeah, seriously.
That's crazy.
I'm not sure who he's trying to help there.
Yeah. And then he was all involved in that Ensign affair, and he's the one that told Ensign to pay her off. And,
he's an Avenue C guy. And he's part of
one of those Christians.
The cultist. That's fascinating.
Those compassionate, loving Christians that are all for taking care of their brother.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where are we going? So we need to cheer people up here a little bit. We need to get happier about this. Yeah. Do you have anything happy to talk? I've got food happiness. I'm trying to be healthier.
Oh, yes.
I am. I had a bad blood test.
I know you did.
It was really ugly, and so I got this across my feeds here. Finalists for State Fair's Big Tex Choice Awards include deep fried butter.
Well, you can't have any of that.
I love Texas. This is why I love Texas.
What did they do? Put a whole stick in?
It looks like it. It's exactly as it sounds. Butter is
my God,
seasoned.
and
This
you
is
just-
from Dvorak.org. Butter
With
that's
a buttery
seasoned,
dipping sauce.
battered up and deep fried, and each stick of butter has 810 calories before it's deep fried. So they literally fry the butter, so it's like, I guess it's sort of like a crispy shell around a creamy, buttery center by the time you eat it, right?
That sounds disgusting.
That sounds fantastic. And then in other food news, this is an advertisement from Spanish Burger King. Denigrates the Hindu goddess of Lakshmi, saying, "Eat me daily." So the story is that this Mexican, let's say Burger King Spain, has set up this advertisement where they depict the sacred Lakshmi goddess sitting on top of a burger. And the tagline is "La merienda es sagrada," roughly translated, a snack that's sacred, which is so cute, except for the Hinduism dictates strict avoidance of the consumption of meat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So people are offended.
Yes, that's right. But they also have donuts at their Burger King in Spain. Does that look like a zebra donut?
It sure
It's
does.
Like with a creamy filling.
Yes.
I think they get more interesting food in Burger King Spain.
They may.
That's
That's an experiment.
you
You go
know,
travel around the world and see what they serve at various different.
It makes me
fast
want to
food
go
joints.
eat just a big tomato, just straight off the vine when I see stuff like that, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes.
just something
Something
cleansing.
healthy and yes.
Oh.
So other good news is when does fall TV start? When does?
Oh, very
Gosh.
soon.
Yeah.
Can I tell you are you looking forward to anything in particular?
Oh gosh, got multiple ones, but
The Dollhouse.
the Dollhouse. I heard that got renewed.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
very excited about it because they released the season finale last season. They released it as a sort of midsummer, so it came out a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. Fantastic.
Wow.
Oh, I love that show.
I've never seen it.
Oh, love me some Joss Whedon. No, it's good.
I'll
You know,
have to
he's the
check that
guy who did the hit show Serenity, the movie Serenity
Oh,
too.
yes, okay.
And before that,
That turned
was,
into a show.
It was a show first.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, and it got
never did.
canceled.
Oh.
And the fans were so, very hipster fans.
Yes, obviously. Now that
And-
was the one with.
Cowboys in Space. With Nathan Fillion as
Yeah.
the rugged captain. They all wore these long Western dusters.
Oh my.
And they flew around. They had 6 shooters, but they flew around in spaceships. It was actually fantastic. And so the movie, of course, was very popular. And
Okay.
so this is his new show, is The Dollhouse, and it's really great. It is a great show. There are some other shows that are coming up that actually look really, really good.
I'm excited that Sons of Anarchy got picked back up again. Have
Oh,
you ever
yeah?
watched
No,
that
no,
one?
no, I've never watched that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a pretty much a Sopranos, but it's biker gangs instead.
The except for biker gangs.
The same thing. They they have a legitimate business that
Yeah.
is the front, and
What is their front?
They
make choppers.
An automobile
They make okay.
shop.
The one that I'm really excited about is this FX show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I love that
Going
show.
on to season 5.
Yes,
I can't
isn't that the
believe it.
greatest?
It's great. There is a special.
They are so psychotic.
Oh,
it's
fantastic.
hysterical.
Okay, so I didn't know who these guys. Like, I know I see their
Did
names.
I tell you about it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I've been watching from the beginning.
Okay, because I have two. Okay.
Big fan. So, but so interesting. Rob McElhenney is the executive producer, the writer. He's the guy who came up with the show and started shooting it. And there is a special half-hour talk of him going to some LA or California Film School, whatever
Okay.
it is, the UCLA Film School, talking to 3 film students, and you get to hear about him talking about how he came up with the show. Turns out he never went to film school, knew nothing about it. He was kind of an actor who did some commercials and said, hey, you know, his shows are pretty easy. Get some buddies together. They put together a show and sold it to Fox in 2 hours.
Wow.
Fascinating story. The show is one of the funniest shows on
It's
television.
so
It is
funny.
wrong. There is
It
nothing
is
right
wrong.
about it. It's just wrong.
I
all over
totally
the place.
agree. It kills me how they abuse the girl, the sister.
Oh, she's just
But she's
run
just a freak
through
show.
Trash. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The
a
other
great
one, have
one.
you seen Chicks in Space?
No.
That's not what it's called. It's called
Oh.
Defying Gravity.
No,
Have you
I
heard
have
about
not,
that?
no.
This is on now. They started it earlier.
Oh, okay.
It's in the 5th episode or something. Remember the guy in Office Space, the movie, the main guy?
Yes.
Right. So
Okay.
after Office Space, he had a couple of other shows. He did this show where he was a hostage negotiator. That,
Oh, yes.
You know, was a
I
kind of
remember
lead
the ads.
balloon.
I didn't see it, but
Well, he's now on this new show called Defying Gravity, where he and a team of 13 other people, astronauts, go into this like multi-year mission to Venus and then other planets if they don't get canceled before then.
right.
Okay, it's Grey's Anatomy in space. So if you're into the
Really?
Grey's
Okay, I'm
Anatomy
into Grey's
kinda
Anatomy.
soap thing, you got to
Okay.
go check this out. My wife is she's glued to the Defying Gravity.
Defying Gravity.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a
I'll have to
good
check
one.
it out.
That's a good one.
How about have you been watching Hung?
No, I don't know
HBO's?
anything about this one.
Hung's about the it's pretty good. It's in its first season, and it's true to kind of the HBO stories. The first couple episodes, because they got to
Yeah.
introduce everybody and all this stuff, so it can kind of be a little slow. And we watched the first episode, and then we're kind of like, and it wasn't until we started seeing more ads as it went down the
Yeah.
couple episodes in, and it was like, well, that does actually look a little funny. So we went back and watched it. So it's about a guy who is a school teacher and mainly a basketball coach. And him and his wife, she leaves him. And so then his home burns down. And so he's living in a tent behind his home. And he lives on this little lake. And basically, he is very well endowed, i.e. hung.
Uh-huh.
And
So it actually wasn't a play on words, the title there.
it was
wasn't-
not a play on
no,
words.
No,
And so he basically becomes
a porn star.
a prostitute.
Is this the Dirk Diggler kind of story?
No.
No?
And this girl that is this real neurotic other teacher that was like a poetry teacher that lost her job, and they met in some self-help group, and so she becomes his pimp.
That's
and
fantastic.
so it's
Is it good?
It's pretty funny.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I watched True Blood. Did you do True
I
Blood?
did. No, we have that on our Netflix because I've heard it's worth watching. But you're looking like maybe
I had a
not.
hard time getting into. I watched the whole first season, and I had a hard time getting into it, mostly because, Anna Paquin is terrible. She's terrible in this.
Well,
And-
have you ever thought she's ever really been a good actress?
well, in the piano, she didn't speak much.
Well, and then in all the X-Men, she's.
No, you know what? The X-Men, she was all right. in the
But she
X-Men.
didn't really do much either.
No, she didn't do much. This one, she's really proactive in the terribleness.
Okay.
It's just awful. But everybody else on that show, with the exception of one character who's killed in like the 3rd episode, everybody else is really good. As a matter of fact, there's some really standout performances in the show, and for kind of this quirky show,
Right.
There are some folks in there who are going to be something. But overall, the series, I ended up having a lot of fun with it. It's now the latest thing, this whole vampire thing, right?
Right,
So we've got
everybody's
Twilight,
into that, and
they're
yes.
making those movies. There's this new show coming out on the that I'm interested in. I think it's on the CW. It's called The Vampire Diaries.
Oh,
Love Sucks. Have you heard about that?
I've seen the ads for it. Yeah.
It wouldn't be worth talking about if it weren't from Kevin Williamson, who did the Scream
Okay.
movies. He was the writer of the Scream movies, and he did some other stuff around the Dawson's Creek era.
Oh,
He's been kind of gone for a while, but he's part of that kind of generation of writers and did some really good stuff. So I'm interested in what they come up with. It could be really
That'd
good.
be good. And then what about Lost? Is
This is
its
the
last
final.
year?
This is the final season.
Yeah, I thought last year was really good.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you
It's
haven't?
literally sitting
Oh
in
my
my
gosh.
iTunes. I'm ready to watch it.
Because the year before that, it was starting to kind
Yeah,
of like,
that's the last.
and we were of course going to still watch it the next season regardless, but we're kind of starting to lose interest, and then They start connecting the dots.
The whole time flipping thing that gets me going. But Lost is one of those shows I can't watch. I can't just watch one episode and wait a week.
Oh,
I've
so
got to
you
be able
like
to dive in 5 hours straight.
Right, and that's what we do with Dexter. We've gotten into Dexter with Netflix.
Dexter is fantastic.
And that got renewed again.
Yep. And if you haven't read the books,
No,
the
I
Dexter
haven't.
books are really great.
So.
They're really great. There are a couple of other new shows that I'm really interested in. This one, I don't know if I even want to talk about. Glee.
Glee.
Have you heard about Glee?
No.
I don't know how long I'm going to be able to last with
Yeah.
it. But, I sort of, I'm saying this in quotes, put myself through college singing a cappella, right? I was
Okay,
in a,
that's
I
right.
was
You
in
have
a-
your little group.
my little group, right? My little menudo.
When are we going to bring you guys all on? Oh, no, you're all over the country.
We're
now,
all,
aren't you?
there are now like some 65 grads. We just had a reunion back in Colorado in the Buff. Had a big reunion. It was fantastic. But when I see shows and Mr. Holland's Opus, it just gets me going. And so this one is about a high school glee club, and they all sing. So all about
okay.
trying to make singing cool.
Yes.
It's not. There's nothing really very cool about it. There's nothing cool about what they're trying to do. But for the a cappella nerds, this show will be interesting.
Okay.
Chevy Chase is back on TV.
I saw that.
In Community.
In Community. I did see that.
So
and
far,
wow.
it looks really interesting. I
Wow,
think
but doesn't he look really old?
he looks really old, and it's unfortunate. Everyone else in the clips seems just funnier than him.
Yeah.
They have a whole bunch of clips out there, and he seems kind of old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And all these guys are just really. You can really tell the difference in styles of comedy
And how it's
delivery and how
changed,
it is changed.
yeah.
He doesn't fit.
Whereas he used to just be, no matter what, all he had to do was make a facial expression and you thought he was funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be worth checking out, I think.
Huh.
Did you ever do the CSI? Did you ever do
Yes,
CSI?
I do CSI.
Did you do last season?
The regular one?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the only one to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind
We
of
like
hard.
New
that
York
was
a little bit,
heartbreaker.
but did that get canceled?
No, it's. I think it's back. Last season was a heartbreaker. Loss of Gil Grissom.
I know.
Hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody.
Yeah. I hope-
Wow.
how could anybody have missed that? That was. Everybody knew he was leaving, and I did struggle with. I'm still struggling a little bit with Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. I did the first couple episodes. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in this season because he can own it.
Right. I guess that's true. They kind of probably kept him more in the background that first season.
It's really strange putting a guy with his kind of pedigree in a role where the character is so green.
Yeah.
It was just a really interesting choice, and
That's true.
I think so far he plays it really, really well.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what they do with the show this year. And it puts a lot of responsibility on these other actors who are. I just think it's one of the best shows on TV. Still, I don't think it gets enough credit.
I like it. The Miami ones. Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, they never should have gotten that. Who is that guy that is the lead on there? I've never liked him.
Yeah, the red-haired.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what is
he's
his
just so
name?
arrogant or something about him. I just don't know.
Horatio Kane is his character name. I cannot think of his name.
Because he came off of NYPD Blue.
He
was good on that, though. Yeah.
It was. There's a great South Park episode where they asked the little baby to do an imitation of his career, and then he jumps off a building. It's just awful. Why can't I think of his name?
I can't either.
Oh,
It's not
terrible.
David something.
Caruso. David Caruso.
David Caruso.
Do an
okay.
imitation of David Caruso's
Caruso.
career.
Ah!
Perfect. So that's unfortunately coming back. It's been on 8 years.
Wow.
8
That seems
years.
amazing.
I know.
God, time flies.
Tell me about it.
It really flies.
Here's a show not to watch, though. Are you ready for this? Melrose Place
Oh,
is back. A
yeah.
new Melrose Place.
What?
Along with 90210.
210.
Train wreck. Just a train wreck.
Yeah, 902. That was on last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is gonna
I
be
can't
season
believe
2 of
it's
this.
coming back.
Yeah.
I'm shocked it had viewers.
Well, it's the CW. What are you going to do?
Oh, well, it has young people.
It does.
So
They've got a
Melrose.
bunch of these kind of.
Who's on Melrose Place is one of the Simpsons? Isn't she on there? Not Jessica, the sister.
Oh goodness, I don't know.
Why did I think that? Or maybe she's just doing a guest appearance or something on it.
I don't know. There's nothing. I don't see it here. And I think there's actually one character who's coming back.
They'll all probably be like 90 pounds.
Yeah, right. It doesn't look good. It's just, and there's in the
90
season
pounds,
premiere
size
there's a murder
D,
or something.
breast.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so there's a lot of good stuff to watch. I can't believe we've gone on about this the whole time, but clearly I don't see my family very often.
You know
or
what I
wouldn't
love
know this
about
stuff.
having between all these other channels,
Yeah.
and of course Netflix, because I do like to sit where it's just sit down and you watch 3 episodes in a row, especially those ones that are 30 minutes. But between that and then of course TiVo, which allows you to watch things when you want to watch them, and
Right.
it doesn't take as long, so you can just zip through those commercials. But the one thing that I really like about having all these different players in the field now is it's not just must-see TV that is the 3 channels that you have fall, you have spring, and then summer you're just stuck, and all those in-between periods you're just stuck with reruns.
Yeah.
So you now have all these channels that are always having, whether their season is this show runs May through July, and this show runs August through September.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pretty much have where you're still not watching more TV, you're just not sitting around watching a bunch of reruns of stuff.
Yeah, I find that really, when I can go into this other show I've discovered, it was a sci-fi show, but I don't get sci-fi. Sci-fi, which is now SYFY.
Oh yes, we watched
retarded.
it. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there. But.
Well, we got rid of cable, so I got nothing. So
because you get everything on the net.
Everything's
Watch
on,
it on your computer.
So I picked up this Warehouse 13.
Yes, we watch it.
That's a fantastic
we
show.
watch it. Yeah.
It's really clever.
Yeah, it's clever.
It's clever and lightweight, and I watch it when I go to the gym.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah,
that's,
that's
good.
so funny. Yeah, we
That's
just
the kind
watched
of
it
thing.
last night.
Yeah, it's good
And I
stuff.
was, in fact, last night we were watching it. I can't think of who the actor's name is, but the main guy that runs the warehouse.
Yeah, Artie.
He was like the perfect pick.
Yeah.
For that character. I mean, he's just.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's one of those great. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I can't think of his name either. He's fantastic. Anyway.
But yeah, and that's a lot of other than him, he's the only one you recognize from. Oh, and his boss.
Frederick.
Yes.
But the other one you recognize who I didn't know who
Because Frederick was from, the cop show that ran on FX for a long time.
The Wire?
Yeah, no, not The Wire. This one.
No, it was The Shield.
The Shield.
The Shield.
She was
Right.
the sergeant or whatever.
I never did The Shield. I never watched it.
I only watched a little bit, and I was like, I don't get it. Are they good cops or bad
Yeah.
cops?
It was too much. Well,
And I remember once in a CJ class or at the university, and there were
Yeah.
a lot of criminal justice majors in there, and there was something with introductions, and some brought up, and I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Are they good cops or bad cops?
Yeah.
And they explained it to me.
that's funny.
So
No, we're actually just starting The Wire. I don't know if you ever did The Wire.
I did
5
not.
years.
I tried it. Like the very first season it came out. Again, one of those.
I think it's one of those. That's when you actually have to watch the whole first season to really get the second season. Like you just have to do the whole thing. We're just starting, and so now we have all 5 seasons. We're ready to go. It really makes it sound
You
like I don't
loaded on your
work.
computer.
Yeah. That's really sad.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for an hour, Mary. It has
All
been
right.
it's been a treat. Thanks for
It's been great chatting
joining
with
me
you.
for beer and hummus, and we'll get Jamie back next week. I don't know if we'll have Greg next week or the week after.
Okay.
But he's definitely on the
I'm
docket
looking forward to that
talk to us
conversation.
about some money and
Yeah, and then we're going after Jamie next week on
yeah. No, we're gonna hammer
that
him to
the
wall.
Secretary of State is doing a horrible job or whatever.
He
he
better
said.
have his research well in line.
Not effective or whatever term he used there.
He's
Actually, though, in all seriousness, Jamie was had a work obligation today.
he did.
Yeah, so I hope that went
We miss
well.
him dearly. He's not just skipping out. As much as I wish he was, because I feel like that would balance the force.
There you go.
All right.
All
Thanks for
right.
joining us, everybody. This has been another week of Beer 30 Live.
We're out.